Good ever comes from a hospital call in the middle of the afternoon. Trust me, I've gotten enough of them over the years to know. Is this Robert Mathers? The voice was clinical, professional, the kind that delivers bad news for a living. Yeah, that's me. I set down my drill and stepped outside, away from the noise. What's this about? This is Dr. Patricia Wells from Mercy General. Your wife, Olivia Mathers, was brought in about an hour ago. She collapsed at her office. My first thought wasn't concern, it was irritation. Olivia had been acting strange for months, disappearing for hours, claiming she was at yoga classes that apparently ran until midnight. Real flexible instructor, that one. How bad is it? I asked, already knowing this was going to cost me money I didn't have. She's in a medically induced coma. We need you to come in immediately to discuss her condition and treatment options. The way she said treatment options made my stomach drop. That's medical speak for hope your insurance is good. I drove to the hospital in my work truck, still wearing my tool belt and covered in sawdust. The emergency room smelled like disinfectant and desperation. Two things I'd grown familiar with over the years. Between my construction crew's accidents and Olivia's mysterious ailments, I practically had a frequent visitor card. Dr. Wells was waiting for me at the nurse's station, a thin woman with graying hair and the kind of tired eyes that had seen too much. Next to her stood a nurse whose name tag read Deb, a heavyset woman in her 50s who looked like she lived for workplace drama. Mr. Mathers, thank you for coming so quickly. Dr. Wells shook my hand. We need to discuss your wife's condition privately. She led me to a small consultation room that felt more like an interrogation chamber. Deb followed, claiming she needed to take notes, but I could tell she was here for the show. Your wife collapsed during a meeting at her office, Dr. Wells began, consulting her clipboard. Initial tests revealed some concerning results. What kind of concerning? The doctor exchanged a glance with Deb. She's tested positive for a transmitted infection, specifically a rare strain that can cause severe complications if left untreated. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. We've barely touched each other in months. I see. Dr. Wells made a note. The strain she's contracted is quite uncommon. It typically requires multiple exposures to develop into something this severe. Deb cleared her throat meaningfully. Doctor, should I mention the visitor situation? What visitor situation? I asked. Dr. Wells looked uncomfortable. A young man was here earlier, very upset about Mrs. Mathers' condition. He claimed to be a close friend from work. He seemed quite distraught. What did he look like? Tall, dark hair, wore one of those expensive tech company hoodies, Deb chimed in, clearly enjoying herself. Drove a fancy Tesla, real pretty boy type, if you ask me. I didn't need to ask. I knew exactly who they were describing. Trent Collier, the smug tech consultant who'd been sniffing around Olivia's HR department for the past 6 months. The same guy she'd mentioned a few too many times in casual conversation. There's something else, Dr. Wells continued. We found these in your wife's purse. She handed me a manila envelope. Inside were bank statements, travel brochures for Costa Rica, and a handwritten note in Olivia's careful script. T, can't wait to start our new life together. Just need to handle Rob first. Love. Oh. The room went quiet except for the hum of fluorescent lights. Deb was practically vibrating with excitement, like she was watching her favorite soap opera. How long has she been planning this? I asked, more to myself than anyone else. Mr. Mathers, Dr. Wells said gently, there's one more thing. Your wife's medical directive lists you as responsible for all treatment costs, but she's also filed paperwork attempting to transfer medical power of attorney to someone else. Let me guess. Pretty boy in the Tesla? Actually, no. To her parents, Gerald and Patricia Whitman, of course. Olivia's parents, who lived in a gated community and thought I was trailer trash who got lucky. They'd been trying to break us up since day one, convinced their precious daughter had married beneath her station. So let me get this straight, I said, standing up. My wife has been cheating on me, planning to run away with her lover, trying to stick me with her medical bills, and now her parents want to control her treatment? That's an accurate summary, Dr. Wells admitted. I looked at both women, then at the envelope in my hands. 15 years of marriage reduced to bank statements and travel brochures. 15 years of working my A off to give Olivia the life she wanted, while she planned her escape with some tech bro who probably couldn't change a tire if his life depended on it. Mr. Mathers? Deb prompted. What would you like us to tell the family when they arrive? I smiled for the first time all day. Tell them, I said congratulations, they just inherited a very expensive problem. The Whitmans arrived at the hospital like a storm front moving in. all dark suits and righteous indignation. Gerald Whitman was a retired bank executive who wore his wealth like armor, while Patricia had perfected the art of looking down her nose at people from her 5'2" frame. They'd driven up from their country club paradise in matching Mercedes, probably coordinating their outfits for maximum intimidation effect. I was in the hospital cafeteria, nursing my third cup of terrible coffee and trying to process everything when they found me. "Robert!" Gerald's voice could have frozen heck over. "We need to talk." "About what, Gerald?" "Your daughter's travel plans?" Patricia gasped like I'd slapped her. "How dare you? Olivia is fighting for her life and you're making jokes?" "Fighting for her life?" I stood up, feeling every inch of my 6-foot frame. She was planning to drain our accounts and disappear to Costa Rica with her boyfriend. The only thing she's fighting is the consequences of her own choices. "That's enough." Gerald stepped closer, his face reddening. "Whatever problems you two are having, Olivia is still your wife. You have obligations." "Had obligations. Past tense. The moment she decided to cheat on me and steal my money, those obligations became null and void." Patricia pulled out her phone. "We're calling our lawyer. You can't just abandon her." "Watch me." That's when Casey showed up. My 17-year-old daughter had always been more like her mother than me. Quick to judge, slow to forgive, and absolutely convinced that every problem in the world was somehow my fault. She walked into the cafeteria like she owned the place, her long brown hair pulled back in a ponytail, wearing her Letterman jacket from the debate team. "Dad, what the heck is wrong with you?" "Language, Casey. Don't you dare lecture me about language when Mom is upstairs in a coma, and you're down here acting like it's no big deal." The entire cafeteria had gone quiet, everyone pretending not to watch our family drama unfold. I could see Deb, the nurse at a corner table, practically taking notes. "Casey, there are things you don't understand. I understand that Mom needs surgery and you're refusing to pay for it." Her voice cracked with emotion. "I understand that Grandma and Grandpa had to drive 3 hours because you won't even visit her." Gerald put his arm around Casey's shoulders. "It's okay, sweetheart. We'll take care of everything." "With what money?" I asked. "Last I checked, you two were living off your pension and Social Security. Olivia's medical bills are going to run into 6 figures. "We'll figure it out," Patricia said stiffly. "Unlike some people, we don't abandon family when things get difficult." Casey turned on me then, her eyes blazing with fury. "I can't believe you're my father. Mom was right about you. You're selfish and cruel and—" The slap echoed through the cafeteria like a thunderclap. My cheek stung, but not as much as seeing the hatred in my daughter's eyes. "I hate you," she whispered. "I hate you so much!" She ran out of the cafeteria, Patricia chasing after her. Gerald stayed behind, his face twisted with disgust. "You're a pathetic excuse for a man, Robert. Olivia deserves better." "Yeah? Well, she found better, didn't she? Problem is, her better doesn't seem too interested in paying her medical bills either." Gerald's jaw tightened. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Your daughter's boyfriend, Trent Collier, was here earlier, real concerned about Olivia's condition, right up until the doctor mentioned the cost of treatment. Funny how he disappeared after that conversation." "You're lying." I pulled out my phone and showed him the photos Eddie had sent me. Screenshots from Trent's social media showing him and Olivia at restaurants I couldn't afford, hotels I'd never seen, posting about their amazing connection and finding true love. Gerald's face went white as he scrolled through the images. There's more," I said, pulling up the bank statements I'd printed. "She's been transferring money to a joint account with his name on it. $15,000 over the past 4 months. Money from our daughter's college fund." This can't be right." "Oh, it gets better. Check out this email thread." I showed him the messages Olivia had exchanged with Trent, planning their escape, discussing how to handle the Rob situation, and whether they should wait until after Casey graduated to disappear. Gerald sank into a chair, suddenly looking every one of his 72 years. "I don't understand. She said you two were having problems, but this is who your daughter really is. The woman you raised, Gerald. The woman who thinks she's too good for a construction worker, but not too good to steal from her own family." He handed my phone back with shaking hands. "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to protect what's left of my assets and my sanity. Olivia made her choice. Now she gets to live with the consequences." "And Casey?" That was the question that kept me awake at night. My daughter, who thought I was the villain in this story, who couldn't see past her mother's lies to understand what was really happening. "Casey will figure it out eventually. Kids always do." Gerald stood up slowly, looking defeated. "The medical bills are your problem now. You wanted to control her treatment? Congratulations. Hope your retirement fund is bigger than I think it is. I walked out of the cafeteria, leaving Gerald sitting alone with the wreckage of his daughter's deception. In the hallway, I could hear Casey crying in Patricia's arms, both of them talking about what a monster I was. Let them think that. Better to be the monster than the fool. Eddie Grant had been my best friend since high school, back when we were both stupid enough to think we'd conquer the world with nothing but attitude and work ethic. 23 years later, he was still the only person I trusted completely, probably because he was the only one who'd never tried to screw me over. We met at Murphy's Tavern, a dive bar that catered to guys like us, working men who needed cheap beer and honest conversation. Eddie was already 3 drinks in when I arrived, his weathered face creased with concern. Jesus, Rob, you look like heck. Feel worse? I signaled the bartender for a whiskey. How bad is it out there? Bad. Olivia's parents are telling everyone who'll listen that you abandoned your wife in her hour of need. Casey's been posting on social media about what a heartless bastard you are. Half the town thinks you're the devil. What about the other half? Eddie grinned. The other half knows you, so they're waiting to hear your side before they pick up their pitchforks. I filled him in on everything, the medical bills, the travel plans, the money transfers, Trent's convenient disappearance. Eddie listened, without interrupting, his expression growing darker with each detail. Son of a witch, he muttered. 15 years of marriage, and she was planning to rob you blind. Gets better. I talked to my lawyer this afternoon. Turns out, since we never changed the deed after my dad died, the house is still technically in my name only. Same with the business. Olivia can't touch any of it. What about the joint accounts? Cleaned out. She moved everything to that account with Trent's name on it. But here's the beautiful part. Since she did it without my knowledge or consent, it's considered theft. My lawyer says I can file charges. Eddie raised his glass. To Karma being a witch. I'm not filing charges. I've got something better in mind. I told him about my plan. Eddie's grin grew wider with each detail. You're evil, Rob. I like it. The next morning, I started phase 1. I drove to Trent's apartment complex, a trendy development called The Lofts that catered to young professionals with more money than sense. His Tesla was parked in spot 247, gleaming white and pristine, like everything else in his carefully curated life. I'd done some research on Trent Collier, 28 years old, graduated from some fancy college with a degree in business and a minor in entitlement. He worked as a digital consultant, which seemed to involve a lot of networking events and buzzword-heavy presentations. His social media was full of inspirational quotes, gym selfies, and photos of expensive meals. The kind of guy who'd never worked a real day in his life. I parked across the street and waited. At 8:15 a.m., Trent emerged from the building, wearing designer jeans and a hoodie that probably cost more than most people's car payments. He was talking on his phone, gesturing animatedly. No, man, I can't make it to drinks tonight. I've got this situation. Yeah, it's complicated. No, she's still in the hospital. He climbed into his Tesla and drove off, probably to some coffee shop where he'd spend the day working on his laptop. I waited 10 minutes, then got to work. The beauty of being in construction is that you learn to be creative with tools. A cordless drill, some fishing line, and a few strategically placed holes can create all sorts of interesting problems. Nothing dangerous. I wasn't trying to hurt anyone, but definitely inconvenient. By the time I was finished, Trent's car would still run, but it wouldn't run well. The fishing line would create a whistling sound that would drive him crazy. The small holes I'd drilled would cause slow leaks in non-critical systems. His pristine white paint job now featured some creative artwork involving permanent markers and spray paint. The message I left on his windshield was simple. Stay away from married women. Phase 2 involved a visit to Olivia's office. Meridian Solutions occupied 3 floors of a glass office building downtown. Olivia worked in human resources, which meant she knew everyone's secrets and wasn't shy about using them. She'd been there for 8 years, working her way up from assistant to director, building a network of allies and enemies with equal enthusiasm. I asked for Brianna Walsh, Olivia's best friend and partner in office politics. Brianna was a 40-something divorcee who lived for drama and gossip. She and Olivia had been thick as thieves, sharing everything from lunch plans to weekend adventures. Rob. Brianna seemed genuinely surprised to see me. How's Olivia doing? I've been so worried. That's what I wanted to talk to you about. Can we grab coffee? We went to the Starbucks across the street. Brianna ordered some complicated drink with multiple modifications while I stuck with black coffee. She was nervous, fidgeting with her phone and avoiding eye contact. Brianna, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Of course. How long have you known about Trent? Her face went white. I don't know what you mean. Come on! You and Olivia tell each other everything. You knew she was cheating. You knew about the money transfers. And you probably knew about Costa Rica, too. Brianna's hands were shaking as she reached for her drink. Rob, I'm not here to blame you. I'm here to make you an offer. I slid a check across the table, $5,000, made out to her. What's this for? Information. I want to know everything, when it started, how long it's been going on, what they were planning. In return, you get that check and my promise that I won't mention your name when this all comes out. Brianna stared at the check like it might bite her. This is crazy. Crazy is your best friend stealing from her husband and abandoning her daughter. Crazy is me finding out about it from hospital staff instead of the people who were supposed to be my friends. She was quiet for a long moment, weighing her options. Finally, she picked up the check. It started 6 months ago. Trent came in to do some consulting work on our computer systems. Olivia was assigned to help him, and they just clicked. When did it become physical? About 4 months ago. She started staying late, claiming she was working on special projects. Then she started taking long lunches, saying she was running errands. What about the money? She said you were controlling, that you monitored all the accounts. She needed somewhere to save money for herself in case things went bad. And the Costa Rica plan? Brianna looked miserable. They were going to leave after Casey graduated. Trent has some business connections down there, said they could start fresh. Olivia was excited about it. She said she felt like she was finally going to have the life she deserved. What about Casey? She said Casey was old enough to choose where she wanted to live. If she wanted to come with them, great. If not, Brianna shrugged. I felt something cold and hard settle in my chest. Olivia had been willing to abandon our daughter for a new life with her boy toy. There's more, Brianna said quietly. The day she collapsed, she just finished transferring the last of the money. They were supposed to leave next week. Next week? Trent had booked the flights. He was going to quit his job. She was going to claim a family emergency and take extended leave. By the time anyone figured out what happened, they'd be long gone. I sat back in my chair, processing this information. If Olivia hadn't gotten sick, I would have come home to an empty house and empty bank accounts, with no idea where my wife and daughter had gone. Rob, I'm sorry. I should have told you, but Olivia made me promise. Don't worry about it. You're telling me now. I stood up to leave, then turned back. One more thing. Where does Trent live? The loft's on Maple Street, apartment 247. Why? Just curious? I smiled and walked away, leaving Brianna sitting alone with her guilt and her $5,000 check. Phase 3 was about to begin. Trent discovered my artwork at 6:30 p.m., right in the middle of rush hour traffic. I know this because Eddie was positioned across the street, with a clear view of the parking lot, and he called me the moment things got interesting. You should see this guy, Rob. He's standing next to his car like someone just told him Santa Claus isn't real. I was at home, going through Olivia's belongings with methodical precision. 15 years of marriage leaves a lot of debris. Old letters, photos, jewelry, clothes. Most of it was going to Goodwill, but some items were worth keeping. Not for sentimental reasons, but for evidence. Is he calling the cops? Nah, he's calling someone, though. Probably his insurance company. Oh, wait, now he's taking pictures. This is better than cable. I'd spent the afternoon documenting everything I could find about Olivia's affair. Email printouts, credit card statements showing expensive dinners and hotel stays, even a burner phone I'd found hidden in her jewelry box. The phone was a goldmine. Months of text messages between her and Trent, planning their escape and discussing how to handle me. My favorite exchange was from 2 weeks ago. Olivia. Rob's getting suspicious. He asked about the yoga classes again. Trent. Just stick to the story. Few more weeks and we'll be sipping margaritas on the beach. Olivia. Can't wait to be done with this life. I'm so tired of pretending to be happy. Trent. Soon, babe. Soon you'll have everything you deserve. Everything she deserved. Right. Eddie called back an hour later. He's home now, but he keeps going outside to look at his car. I think he's trying to figure out if it's safe to drive. It's safe. Just annoying. What's next? Now we wait. Trent's going to want answers, and there's only one person he can get them from. I was right. At 8:45 p.m., my phone rang. Unknown number, but I knew who it was. Robert Mathers. You son of a witch! Trent's voice was high and strained. What did you do to my car? I'm sorry, who is this? You know exactly who this is. You vandalized my car. That's a serious accusation. Do you have any proof? Silence on the other end. He knew he couldn't call the cops without explaining why someone might want to vandalize his car, which would mean admitting to the affair. Stay away from me and my property, he finally said. Funny, I was about to say the same thing to you. Stay away from me and my property. That includes my wife. Olivia's not your property. You're right. She's your problem now. Hope you've got good insurance because her medical bills are going to be expensive. I hung up before he could respond. The next morning brought a visit from the Whitmans. Gerald and Patricia showed up at my house at 7 a.m., probably hoping to catch me before I left for work. They looked like they'd aged 10 years overnight. We need to talk, Gerald said without preamble. About what? About Olivia's treatment. The doctors want to try an experimental therapy, but it's not covered by insurance. How much? Patricia's voice was barely a whisper. $40,000. I let out a low whistle. That's a lot of money. We'll mortgage the house if we have to, Gerald said, but we need time to arrange the financing. If you could just cover the initial costs. No. Robert, please. This is your wife we're talking about. No, this is your daughter. The woman who stole $15,000 from our joint account, planned to abandon our child, and was literally days away from disappearing to Costa Rica with her boyfriend. That woman is your responsibility now. Patricia started crying. She made mistakes, but she doesn't deserve to die for them. She's not going to die. The regular treatment will keep her stable. She just won't get the premium service she's used to. Gerald's face was red with anger. You're a cold, heartless bastard. I'm a man who's tired of being played for a fool. Your daughter made her choices. Now live with them. They left without another word, but I knew this wasn't over. Desperate people do desperate things, and the Whitmans were getting desperate. That afternoon, Casey showed up at my office. My construction company operated out of a converted warehouse on the industrial side of town. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. Casey had been here dozens of times over the years, usually when Olivia needed someone to watch her after school. She looked terrible. Dark circles under her eyes, her hair unwashed, wearing the same clothes she'd had on at the hospital 2 days ago. Dad, we need to talk. Okay, come on in. My office was a cluttered mess of blueprints, invoices, and coffee cups. Casey sat in the chair across from my desk, the same chair where she used to do homework while I finished paperwork. Grandpa told me about the money, she said quietly. What about it? About Mom taking it, about the Costa Rica thing. I waited. Sometimes the best thing you can do is let people talk themselves through the truth. I don't understand, she continued. Why would she do that? Why would she want to leave? I don't know, Casey. You'd have to ask her. But she's in a coma. Then, I guess you'll have to wait. Casey's eyes flashed with anger. How can you be so calm about this? Our family is falling apart. Our family fell apart months ago. I'm just the last one to find out about it. So that's it? You're just giving up? I leaned back in my chair, studying my daughter's face. She had Olivia's eyes, but my stubborn chin. Smart as a whip when she wanted to be, but blind to anything that didn't fit her worldview. Casey, let me ask you something. Over the past few months, how often was your mom home for dinner? I don't know. She was busy with work. How often? Casey thought about it. Maybe twice a week? And where did she say she was the other nights? Yoga classes, work events, dinner with friends? Casey's voice trailed off as she realized what I was getting at. Did you ever meet any of these friends? Did she ever invite you to come along to yoga? No, but did you notice the new clothes she was buying? The extra time she spent getting ready in the mornings? The way she started password protecting her phone? Casey's face crumpled. I thought she was just trying to take better care of herself. After Dad's heart attack last year, she said she wanted to focus on being healthier. Your mom was having an affair, Casey. For months. She was planning to leave both of us and start a new life with someone else. The only reason she didn't is because she got sick. You're lying. I pulled out the burner phone and handed it to her. Read the messages. Casey scrolled through the texts, her face growing paler with each exchange. When she got to the part about leaving after graduation, she dropped the phone like it was on fire. She was really going to leave me? She was going to give you a choice, come with them or stay with me. But I would have chosen her. I always choose her. I know. Casey started crying then, deep, wrenching sobs that shook her whole body. I came around the desk and held her while she cried, feeling helpless and furious and heartbroken all at once. What are we going to do, Dad? We're going to survive. That's what we do. But even as I said it, I knew survival wasn't enough. Not anymore. It was time for Phase 4. The Meridian Solutions annual charity gala was the social event of the year for the local business community. A chance for executives and their spouses to dress up, eat overpriced food, and pretend they cared about whatever cause was trendy that season. This year's beneficiary was childhood cancer research, which made what I was about to do feel slightly less vindictive. Olivia had been looking forward to this event for months. She'd bought a new dress, made appointments for hair and nails, even convinced me to rent a tuxedo. In her mind, this was going to be her grand debut as the wife of a successful businessman, proof that she'd finally achieved the social status she'd always craved. Instead, it was going to be her funeral. I arrived at the Marriott Ballroom at 7:30 p.m., fashionably late and completely sober. The room was full of Meridian employees, local business owners, and their various hangers-on. Everyone was dressed to impress, sipping cocktails and making small talk about quarterly earnings and vacation plans. Brianna spotted me first. She was standing near the bar with a group of women from HR, looking nervous and guilty. When our eyes met across the room, she quickly looked away. "Rob, I didn't expect to see you here." The voice belonged to Marcus Webb, Meridian's CEO and Olivia's ultimate boss. He was a glad-handing politician type who'd built his career on other people's work and his ability to remember everyone's name. Marcus, heck of a turnout. Absolutely. Though I have to say we're all concerned about Olivia. How is she doing? She's stable, the doctors are optimistic. That's wonderful to hear. She's such a valuable member of our team. We're all pulling for her. I smiled. Actually, Marcus, I'm glad I ran into you. There are some things about Olivia's situation that I think you should know. Marcus's expression shifted slightly. Oh? Maybe we could talk privately. It's rather sensitive. He led me to a quiet corner of the room, away from the crowd. I pulled out a manila envelope, the same one I'd been carrying for the past week, now considerably thicker. Marcus, I need to show you something. It concerns Olivia and one of your consultants, Trent Collier. I handed him the first set of documents, printouts of emails between Olivia and Trent, discussing their relationship and how it might affect their work. The messages were explicit enough to be embarrassing, but professional enough to be relevant to company policy. Marcus's face grew red as he read. Jesus Christ, Rob. I had no idea. There's more. The next set of documents showed how Olivia had been using company resources for personal business, printing personal documents, using the office computer for travel research, even scheduling personal appointments during work hours. This is grounds for termination, Marcus muttered. It gets worse. The final set of documents was the smoking tool, evidence that Olivia had been accessing confidential employee records to help Trent with his consulting work, giving him inside information about company operations and personnel issues. Marcus looked like he was going to be sick. This is a violation of federal privacy laws. If this gets out, it could destroy us. I'm not interested in destroying your company, Marcus, but I thought you should know what kind of employee you've been defending. What do you want from me? Nothing. Just thought you deserved the truth. I left Marcus standing there with the documents, looking like a man who'd just discovered his star employee was a liability. Within minutes, he was on his phone, probably calling his lawyers. Phase 1 complete. Phase 2 involved finding Trent. He was holding court near the silent auction tables, regaling a group of young professionals with stories about his latest business ventures. He looked good. Expensive suit, perfect hair, the kind of confident smile that came from never facing real consequences for anything. That was about to change. I approached the group casually, like I was just another guest looking at the auction items. Trent didn't notice me at first, too busy talking about his revolutionary approach to digital transformation. Excuse me, I said, tapping him on the shoulder. Trent Collier? He turned around and his face went white when he recognized me. Robert Mathers, I said, extending my hand. Olivia's husband. The group went quiet, sensing drama. Trent reluctantly shook my hand, his palms sweaty and trembling. How is Olivia doing? He asked, trying to sound casual. Well, that's interesting that you ask. See, I've been wondering where you've been the past few days. Olivia's in the hospital, fighting for her life, and her boyfriend is nowhere to be found. Someone in the group gasped. Trent's face went from white to red. I don't know what you're talking about. Really? Because I have about 6 months of text messages that say otherwise. I pulled out the burner phone and started reading aloud. Can't wait to get you alone tonight. Rob's working late again. That's from March 15th. The things you do to me should be illegal. March 22nd. I love how you make me feel like a real woman. April 3rd. Stop, Trent whispered. Rob would die if he knew what we were doing in his bed. April 10th. Should I keep going? The group around us had grown larger, people drawn by the spectacle. I could see phones coming out, people starting to record. You're crazy, Trent said, but his voice lacked conviction. Am I? Then explain this. I pulled out a printed photograph, one I'd found on the burner phone, showing Trent and Olivia in a hotel room, both of them unclothed and smiling at the camera. Trent lunged for the photo, but I pulled it back. Easy there, Romeo. This is evidence. Evidence of what? Adultery, theft, conspiracy to commit fraud. See, when you and Olivia were planning your little Costa Rica adventure, you were planning to take money that didn't belong to her. That's called theft. The crowd was getting bigger, and I could see Marcus pushing through, looking panicked. You can't prove anything, Trent said. Actually, I can. Bank records, credit card statements, hotel receipts, plane tickets. Heck, I even found the apartment lease you two signed in San Jose. That was a lie, but Trent didn't know that. His face crumpled. Look, man, I never meant for anyone to get hurt, but someone did get hurt, my daughter. She's 17 years old, and she was about to lose her mother to some midlife crisis fantasy. How does that make you feel, Trent? Knowing that you were willing to destroy a child's life for a few months of fun? Trent looked around desperately, realizing that everyone was staring at him, judging him. His carefully constructed image was crumbling in real time. I need to go. Yeah, you do. And Trent, if I ever see you near my family again, we're going to have a very different kind of conversation. He pushed through the crowd and practically ran for the exit. I watched him go, then turned to address the assembled audience. Sorry for the disruption, folks. Sometimes the truth is messy. I walked away, leaving behind a room full of shocked whispers and furious gossip. By morning, everyone in town would know about Olivia's affair and Trent's cowardice. Phase 3 was already in motion. The story broke on social media before I even got home from the gala. Someone had recorded my confrontation with Trent and posted it on Facebook with the caption, "Local businessman exposes cheating wife and her coward boyfriend." Within hours, it had been shared hundreds of times. By morning, the local newspaper had picked up the story. The headline read, "Meridian HR Director's Affair Scandal Rocks Business Community." The article was surprisingly thorough, including quotes from unnamed sources who provided additional details about Olivia's behavior and Trent's reputation. I was drinking coffee and reading the online comments when my phone rang. It was Casey. Dad, have you seen the news? Yeah. Everyone at school is talking about it. My phone hasn't stopped buzzing all morning. How are you handling it? I don't know. Part of me is embarrassed, but part of me is relieved. Does that make sense? Perfect sense. Sometimes the truth hurts, but it also sets you free. What happens now? Now we move forward. Together. After I hung up, I drove to the hospital. It was time for the final phase. Olivia had been moved to a private room on the 4th floor. The experimental treatment her parents had somehow managed to finance was working. She was awake, alert, and according to the nurses, asking for me. I found Gerald and Patricia in the waiting area, looking like they'd been hit by a truck. Patricia's eyes were red from crying, and Gerald looked like he'd aged another decade overnight. The news story, Patricia said without preamble. Did you? I told the truth, nothing more, nothing less. You destroyed her, Gerald said quietly. Her career, her reputation, everything. No, Gerald, she destroyed herself. I just made sure everyone knew about it. What kind of man does this to his own wife? The kind who's tired of being played for a fool. I walked past them into Olivia's room. She was sitting up in bed, looking fragile and pale, but undeniably alive. When she saw me, her eyes filled with tears. Rob, thank God you're here. I've been so scared. Cut the act, Olivia. We both know why I'm here. Her expression changed, the vulnerable mask slipping away to reveal the calculating woman I'd been married to for 15 years. You son of a witch. You planned this whole thing, didn't you? I didn't plan anything. I just responded to what you did. What I did? I fell in love. I made a mistake, but you stole from our family. You were going to abandon our daughter. You tried to stick me with your medical bills while you ran off with your boyfriend. That's not a mistake, Olivia. That's betrayal. She was quiet for a moment, studying my face. What do you want? Money? I'll pay back every penny. I don't want your money. I want you to understand something. I pulled a chair up to her bedside and sat down. For 15 years, I worked my A off to give you the life you wanted. Nice house, nice car, nice clothes. I put up with your complaints about my job, my friends, my family. I let you redecorate the house 6 times. I took you on vacations I couldn't afford to places I didn't want to go. And through it all, I thought I was building something with you. A partnership, a family. Rob, I'm not finished. When you got sick, my first instinct was to take care of you. Even after I found out about the affair, part of me wanted to forgive you. But then I saw those text messages. I saw how little you thought of me, of Casey, of the life we'd built together. You called me boring. You said you were embarrassed to be married to a construction worker. You told Trent that you couldn't wait to be free of us. Olivia's face was streaked with tears, but I felt no sympathy. So, here's what's going to happen. I'm filing for divorce. I'm keeping the house, the business, and everything else that's legally mine. You can have whatever's left in the joint account. I think there's about $47. You can't do this! I'm sick. You need to face the consequences of your choices. Your parents are covering your medical bills, which is generous of them, considering they're probably going to lose their house in the process. What about Casey? Casey's old enough to decide where she wants to live. I think she's figured out who the real parent is in this family. I stood up to leave, then turned back for one final word. Oh, and Olivia? Trent left town this morning. Apparently his consulting contract got terminated, and he decided to pursue opportunities elsewhere. Something about his reputation being damaged beyond repair. Her face went white. He wouldn't just leave me. He would, and he did. Turns out when the going gets tough, pretty boys run home to mommy. I walked to the door, then paused. You wanted a new life, Olivia. Congratulations. You got one. I left her crying in her hospital bed and walked out of the building into the bright afternoon sun. My phone was buzzing with messages from friends, family, and reporters, but I ignored them all. Eddie was waiting for me in the parking lot, leaning against his truck with a big grin on his face. So, how'd it go? It's over. All of it? All of it. Eddie clapped me on the shoulder. Come on, I'll buy you a beer. We've got some celebrating to do. As we drove away from the hospital, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Peace. The truth was out. The consequences had been delivered and justice had been served. Olivia had wanted to escape her boring life with her boring husband. Instead, she'd lost everything. Her marriage, her career, her reputation, and her lover. She'd traded 15 years of security for a few months of excitement, and now she was paying the price. Sometimes the trip really is canceled. Sometimes the only destination is exactly where you started, but with a lot less baggage. And sometimes that's exactly where you need to be.